The Federal Reserve's reaction to this is, at some point they've been fighting inflation. They haven't solved it yet, but they're going to declare victory even if they don't really have it. This is all laid out in the book. They will say things like, gosh, unemployment is really high, the SOM rule has been broken, unemployment is rising quickly, we need to deal with stimulus and get things going, Trump will get what he wants. Rates will be lowered, but they will do it slowly at first. When that doesn't work, they'll become extra mean. They will do QE if that isn't enough. With QE, money is being printed, and you know what? Bitcoin loves making money more than anything else. Yes, that's what they do. I believe we are still in a 4-year pattern. Please excuse me. I believe 140 is the next stop. Okay, so here's the deal. Larry Lepard says it's going to happen. The government is going to print money, which is called quantitative easing. Now here's the deal. When these times come around, we all know how cryptocurrency and altcoins do. It's completely crazy. When is this going to take place? How long will it take for taxes to go through? What are they going to do at their next meeting? I think we all want answers to these questions, because if quantitative easing starts next week, it will have a very different impact on the markets than if it starts 2 months from now. This is because there are many more factors that could change the outcome. No, we are not in a boom. This is without a doubt the case. And yes, prices will go up again whether quantitative easing happens or not. The Fed now has a job that can't be done. Make money, you know, or you could just watch the country fall apart, right? Both options will cause prices to rise, so it's likely that they will pick something that forces people to switch to a different banking system. I think this will happen. This is why I think XRP will go up in value. The US dollar isn't working right. The Federal Reserve doesn't work right. Now is the time for something new. Investors are becoming more aware of this. Cryptocurrency is becoming more well known. I believe it will only be a short time before people around the world really start to do something. You should really give some thought to how you want your money to work in the future. Do you want to depend on a system that doesn't work right, and whose currency loses 98% of its value every 100 years? Or would you rather have a currency that keeps and gets value because its supply is fixed and can't be changed? I believe the answer is pretty clear. Now that we know that, let's talk about what will happen with the Fed and how we can use it to our advantage. Because this is most likely the most important piece of the story. Let's talk about that. It's important to note that the second US Treasury Secretary had an interview with the Cross a few days ago. In it he talked about how Bitcoin is becoming a digital gold and a store of value. Does anyone think Janet Yellen would say something like that? Not at all. It was beautiful, right? He's also a gold bug, but he knows that Bitcoin is becoming popular, right? He's right. Some people might not want to hear this, but I really believe in everything they're doing. It's great that you can Doge. I think it's great that we are putting America first and putting taxes in place. As someone who keeps an eye on the market, I think that not even Bissett and Trump fully understand what I see as a painful process that we're not even halfway through. You know that you can't fix things. We've had these problems for 50 years, right? We can't fix them in a weekend, a week, a month, a year, or maybe even one term as president. I mean, I hope that by the end of this term we can get things going in the right way. But I guess the point is that this market makes me think of 1987, when you had a big drop over the weekend. And I think there's a good chance that we'll crash early next week on Monday and Tuesday if the Fed doesn't say something dovish. We can't. It's not clear. That is, the selling might be over. But the point is that it's clear that Trump did something very bad when he put these taxes in place. What did the market do that said, hey, you know what? The world will change and these stocks are worth more than they are now. We need to get rid of them for good. And that might not be the end of the process. I want to warn all Bitcoins that just because we had one day of no connection doesn't mean that in a full-on market collapse, let's say the market drops another 10%, 15% or 20% next week, that nothing will happen. I don't think it will happen, but it might. In that case, I think it would look a lot like March 2020 or September 2008, which is where the link of one comes in. That means everything will fall apart. People will sell. Someone with plenty of power will own Bitcoin, and it will be the easiest thing to sell, so they'll do it. As a side note, Bitcoin and gold will become the lifeboats because they can't be stolen. The Fed will have to react with huge amounts of money to help the economy. If what I'm talking about happens, as I made very clear in my book, and as everyone listening to this knows, it will be harder, faster, and bigger than the last time. That's going to be the big print. We've also had two big prints, in 2008 and 2020. This one though will be bigger. When that happens, there's nothing to drive growth or the underlying. Bitcoin is a sound form of base money, and gold, which is an older form of base money, is getting close to being as sound. And we're talking about a huge drop in the value of money. This is how the market could go down if, and it's a big if, I'd say it's about a 50-50th chance. Let's go back to December or October 1987 for a moment. It's called Black Monday, right? I believe it is Monday or Tuesday. Yes, I was in the markets at that time. I was pretty young. I came into the world in 1983. I had only been working for 4 years, but I was already in charge of a fund of money, and my own money. It was clear that the markets were very, very fragile, and had been bought up too much. They did some things with the dollar after that. What started the whole mess was when the finance secretary said some things about the dollar. At the same time, something new called portfolio insurance had come about. It was just a big stop loss on the market. I don't know if anyone has heard of it. So what they were telling stock investors was, we'll sell you insurance below the market, and if the market goes down, we'll stop your loss automatically. So if the price goes up, you'll get a cap on your loss, and if it goes down, you won't lose much. And that whole plan was based on the idea that there would never be a market that stopped. That is, everyone will be able to sell for 4% less, right? The market, on the other hand, went up more than 4%. After that, all the sale orders were filled, and 4% turned into 22%, right? You know, we don't have the exact same setup now, but there are a lot of similar ones. And you know, I think some people are reading the papers this weekend. The normal investor is probably looking at their retirement account. They are calling their business expert, telling them, hey, you know, we got hit last week. What should I do? And you know, if enough of them show up on Monday and say sell, it might look the same. Okay, so here's the deal. At this point, it looks like the markets will probably go through a lot more pain than they have already. They'll drop quite a bit, and then the Fed will say in some way that QE is starting, which will cause the markets to take off. For a long-term game, it will mean a little more pain in the short term. Just like Trump says, he is 100% correct in what he says. This is something I'm sure of when it comes to the US economy, the S&P 500 and altcoins. I believe that XRP